Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor P. Bhaskar Reddy, Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati. In this module of the paper Outlines of Indian History, you are going to learn about non-cooperation movement. Non-cooperation movement is an important phase in the history of freedom struggle in India. The period of this movement, 1921 and 22, is the heroic and glorious period because the movement was carried vigorously by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. The emergence of Gandhi as a leader of nation, it marks a new phase in the history of freedom struggle because with the entry of Gandhi, it begins a new era and known as Gandhi era. And from this period onwards, this period is not only considered as a Gandhian era, and this period is an unquestioned period in the history of freedom struggle under the able leadership of Mahatma Gandhi up to 1947. However, this module is designed to understand the freedom movement from the point of when the home rule came to an end and up to end of non-cooperation movement with the objectives of national movement after the home rule movement, emergence of Gandhi as the leader of national movement, the factors leading to the non-cooperation movement, the concept of satyagraha or violence and non-cooperation proposed by Mahatma Gandhi, the main features and progress of the non-cooperation movement, and the end of non-cooperation movement and its results in the progress of the freedom movement. With these objectives, let us first to start our discussion on the national movement after the home rule movement. It is known that the year 1919 was the memorable milestone in the history of freedom struggle. Already, the First World War came to an end. After that, the Paris Peace Conference was concluded. Accordingly, in that peace conference, the principle of self-determination was openly floated by the Allies. After that, the Ottoman Turkish Sultan and his empire also reduced to death. With this, the Indians also have a hope of they are gaining some advantages after this conference. Later on, the Monte-Kempsford reforms, though they were assured for the constitutional provisions, they failed to assuage the feelings of the national leaders. The authority of the British colonial imperialism was openly questioned after the Monte-Kempsford reforms. The people were now ready to plunge into the action to free their country from the British yoke. Thus, the third and last phase of the national movement began from that point onwards. How the Gandhi emerged as a leader of the nation, this was also one of the important points to discuss here. When the home rule movement was fading away, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi returned to India from South Africa with rich experience in political agitation and a halo round his towering personality. Soon, he introduced the concept of technique of satyagraha or non-violence and non-cooperation into the political agitation in India to attain India's freedom from the Britishers. Non-cooperation means that a man should insist on truth and justice by non-violent means, refuse to accept injustice fearlessly, resist the oppressor not by hatred but resistance to him because of love for truth. These non-cooperation objectives included the programs of Hartal, non-cooperation, fasting, prayer, picketing, non-payment of taxes, civil disobedience, non-violent marches, and fasting unto death. With these aims and objectives, Gandhiji Satyagraha served as a political weapon for the further progress of the national movement. With this, Gandhi transformed the movement into a mass movement, and also he brought a great psychological change in the course of national movement and became unquestioned leader of the national movement up to independence. With this, now what factors contributed for the starting of non-cooperation movement? Among that, the Rowlatt Act was the first one. Regarding the Rowlatt Act is concerned, the opportunity to experiment Gandhi's Satyagraha came when the British government introduced the Rowlatt Bills intended to curtail the civil liberties of Indians in the name of curbing terrorist violence. On this occasion, Gandhi desired the people of India that in case of these bills becoming a law, they shall refuse to obey these laws but refrain from violence to life, person or property. In protest of that, in February 1919, Gandhi founded the Satyagraha Sabha and his members took a pledge to disobey the act under court arrest and imprisonment. The Rowlatt Act was passed on March 18, 1919. It empowered the government to deport individuals, to muzzle the press, and to set up the tribunals to try political offenders. This act authorized the government imprisoned the persons without trial or conviction. The passing of Rowlatt Act brought Gandhi the forefront of the national movement. Gandhi suggested the launching of Satyagraha in the form of hartal or closure of shops and markets to register their protest. He undertook extensive tours of the country to explain the technique of Satyagraha. He had also advised the people to observe the April 6, 1919 as the day of protest to show the solidarity of the people of India. The people were asked to disobey the law by non-violent methods. This was an important principle of the Mahatma Gandhi, and with that call, the entire country was electrified with hartals, strikes, demonstrations, slogans of unity. Though the entire day was passed off peacefully, there were disturbances in Punjab and the government repressive policy led a massacre. When the protest movement was going on very peacefully as per the call of Mahatma Gandhi, one worst incident occurred in Punjab, that is Jallianwala Bagh tragedy. Now we may look into under what circumstances the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy was occurred and who was the responsible person and how this Jallianwala Bagh was the responsible for the starting of non-cooperation movement by Mahatma Gandhi. The success of Hartal on 6th April 1919 irritated Sir Michael O'Dwyer, the Lieutenant Governor of Punjab. During the protest time, he served prohibitory orders even on Gandhi not to enter Delhi or Punjab or any other provinces. Then, on 10th April 1919, he deported Dr. Kichlev and Dr. Satyapal of Amritsar for making preparations for the Congress session at Jallianwala Bagh. Thousands of people assembled there. It resulted in violent incidents in many parts, but the worst happened in Amritsar. A huge meeting was held on 13th April 1919 in Amritsar at Jallianwala Bagh, defying the government's prohibitory orders against the repressive policy. When the meeting is going on, Dyer ordered his troops to fire upon the unarmed crowd without any warning. Thus, thousands among the gathering were either killed or wounded, where they have no escape from that meeting point. After the incidents of Jallianwala Bagh tragedy and the death of thousands of people, the news spread like wildfire throughout the country and protests poured in various parts of it. In a protest of that, the poet Rabindranath Tagore surrendered his title of knighthood as a protest, and several others also followed in the similar way. After this incident, Gandhiji took a 3-day fast from 15th April 1919. To support the Gandhi's fast, the Indian National Congress met in Amritsar under the presidency of Motilal Nehru, and they also observed mourning over the murder of people at Jallianwala Bagh. Later, under the pressure of the public demand, the government appointed Hunter Committee to inquire into the firings of the Jallianwala Bagh. Meanwhile, all the political prisoners were released so as to ease the atmosphere for the reception of Montague claims for reform. Thus, the Jallianwala Bagh incidents paved the way this type of large-scale protest and mobilization of the country into the freedom movement, and this was the beginning of inspiration for the further protest movements in India. Now we may discuss about the Khilafat movement and its history and how the Khilafat movement was started and joined in the national movement. A new stream came into national movement with the Khilafat movement in the year 1919. Because after the First World War, the British government abolished the title of the Khalifa of the Sultan of Turkey. This abolition injured the feelings of the Indian Muslims who regarded Khalifa as the religious head of the Muslim world. Therefore, all the Muslims expressed their resentment and started the movement known as Khilafah movement under the leadership of Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali, popularly known as Ali brothers. Regarding the objectives of the Khilafat movement are concerned, their primary demand was that the British should in no way interfere in the affairs of Muslims and to restore the title of Khalifa to the Turkish Sultan. In progress of it, All India Khilafat Conference was held at Delhi in November 1919, and they decided to withdraw all cooperation if their demands were not met by the British government. The Muslim League nationalists gave full support to the Congress and its agitations also. Thus, Muslims also joined in the national movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. The Congress leaders, including Tilak Gandhi, viewed the Khilafat agitation as a golden opportunity for cementing Hindu-Muslim unity and win over the Muslims for the cause of national struggle. Meanwhile, the government had refused to annul the Rowlatt Act, to express regrets at the happenings of Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, or restored the title of Khalifa. In protest of that, when the government refused to give any assurances and refused, in June 1920, an all-party conference was held at Allahabad and approved the program of boycotting of schools, colleges and law courts. Thus, the non-cooperation movement was begun, and now we may discuss about the non-cooperation movement, its objectives, its programs, its progress past, then its results, and it can be discussed in the next point. Regarding the non-cooperation movement is concerned, Gandhiji formally inaugurated the non-cooperation movement on August 1st, 1920. The Congress, in a special session held at Calcutta from 4 to 8 September 1920 under the presidency of Lala Lajpat Rai, supported Gandhiji's plan of non-cooperation. The non-cooperation resolution of the September 1920 advised the people to follow these programs, mainly to surrender officially confirmed titles and honorary offices, boycott of all official and attending government functions, boycott of the elections to all the representative bodies, to withdraw their children from government and aided schools and colleges, to boycott law courts and legislatures, to refuse service in Mesopotamia, to boycott foreign goods and promote Swadeshi. Besides the above objectives, the Gandhiji mainly propagated that the movement must be carried on the method of non-violence. Later, the Nagpur session of the Congress held in December 1920 included even the non-payment of taxes in the non-cooperation program. If this was followed, Gandhi in the meeting itself promised to achieve Swaraj within a year. The Nagpur session also made changes in the constitution of the Congress. Now, the Congress became the organizer of the masses. Besides, Hindus and Muslims were also marching together for getting freedom to India. To popularize the non-cooperation movement, various devices such as meetings, harikathas, bhajans, sankirtanas, etc. were followed by the people with Swadeshi, Kaddar and anti-drinking campaign. In the promotion of the non-cooperation movement, besides the leaders, the press also extended its support for the propagation of this movement in a wider part of India. Even it reached among the masses through their writings. Among the various programs of the non-cooperation, boycott of elections is the one. Accordingly, the leaders started the boycotting of elections, which conducted as per the Monte-Chelmsford reforms. Particularly, the Andhras boycotted the first elections under the Act of 1919 to the Madras Legislative Council held in November 1920. The voting pattern which conducted in that election indicates the impact of Gandhi's message of non-cooperation and boycott of elections. Since the Andhra Congress boycotted in the elections, the Justice Party got majority and formed the ministry in Madras Presidency as per the provisions of Monte-Chelmsford reforms. Then, the important achievement in the progress of the non-cooperation movement is the All India Congress Committee met at Vijayawada during 31st March and 1st April 1920 in Andhra Pradesh. In that meeting, they also decided to collect 1 crore rupees for the Tilak Samaj Fund and for the progress of the national movement. One significant event of this meeting is, during this Congress session, Pingali Venkayya of Andhra designed a tricolor flag for the Congress. Later, with some modifications, it became the national flag of India. After the Congress session, to propagate the cooperation movement, Gandhi undertook a tour of southern India and addressed thought-provoking meetings. He delivered speeches particularly on Kaddar, Swaraj, Swadeshi and Temperance, which were the core programs of the non-cooperation movement. Gandhi also sent a wire message in 1921 to the people of the ceded districts that they should concrete on Swadeshi and boycott. His tour strengthened the non-cooperation movement and also encouraged them to organize a program of boycott of Prince of Wales when he visited Bombay on 17th November 1921. When the Prince Wales visited India to inaugurate the reforms of 1919, he found all cities observing hartals and closure of foreign hotels. Besides the above programs, the leaders also conducted hectic campaign tours throughout the country and enlightened the people into the non-cooperation program. Another important program of the non-cooperation movement is boycott of law courts and to protect the justice to the Indians. Another important program of the non-cooperation movement is boycott of law courts. This was observed by lawyers of the various parts of the country in protest of the movement, and they extended their cooperation in this method. So there was an overwhelming response from the lawyers, judges who established their own courts for the propagation of their ideals. Prohibition of liquor. It is also one of the important program of the non-cooperation. Gandhi also considered the prohibition of liquor as essential for the self-purification and moral well-being of the society, where it was included in the program. This anti-liquor program is called as temperance movement. The anti-liquor program included propaganda conferences, especially attempts to hinder the prospective bidders from bidding at sales of arak and toddy shops and picketing them. The movement was directed against the government, as the latter had come to rely more and more on liquor taxes as a source of revenue. The social reformers and the leaders having progressive views and voluntary associations also took up the campaign and used the platform, and the press also promoted to protest against the increasing consumption of liquor. In the progress of the liquor program, there were several incidents where the people themselves came voluntarily to protest before the shops, before the cutting of the trees of the toddy producing trees, and also they conducted various programs. Even they tried to protect the bidders in the bidding activity. Thus, there is no doubt that the preaching of the non-cooperation and the boycotting of liquor, in some cases, the picking of liquor shops contributed the phenomenal success in the cooperation movement of the age. Another unique program of the non-cooperation is Forest Satyagraha. Now we may look at what is Forest Satyagraha, where it was conducted, why it was conducted, and how the Forest Satyagraha was also contributed for the progress of non-cooperation movement. This was a unique program followed in Madras Presidency against the imposition of variety of forest laws on the peasants and the tribals of that area. The forest dwellers enjoyed several rights in the forest, such as wood for fuel and huts, agricultural implements, carts, etc., leaf for manure and mill spades, grass and leaves for grazing animals, forest producers like fruits, roots, herbs, honey, grain, and even fishing and hunting. They are the important products which they were need for the tribal and rural people for their livelihood. The Britishers imposed restriction on this and even imposed grazing fee on cattle and sheep. Naturally, they began defying forest rules. The British continued to look upon the forest dwellers as robbers, while the dwellers considered the forest administration as of the aliens, unjust and corrupt one. The Palanadu Satyagraha was an important incident occurred during the course of non-cooperation movement. The people of Palanadu region expressed their resentment towards the repressive officials by following social boycott of them from attending any duties. The social boycott was transformed into a non-tax campaign also, which it was also program of the non-cooperation. Next important program is Khaddar program. This was an important program of the non-cooperation movement, which it promotes the weaving industry, which was a basic industry for the rural community of the age. The program of spinning, weaving and wearing of handmade cloth was taken up by the people as per the resolution of the All India Congress Committee held at Vijayawada in April 1921. The Khaddar program was aimed at self-sufficiency in cloth, promotion of cottage industries and providing additional income to the poorer families. But this program gradually acquired political importance also. To popularize Khaddar, several weaving institutions were also founded by the All India Congress Committee and Pradesh Congress Committees. The Charaka and Khaddar program brought into the national movement, and many people, particularly the merchant and weaving communities, they involved more and more. Regarding the other programs of the non-cooperation, the AICC, which met at Delhi on 5th December 1921, decided to give permission to the provincial Congress committees to sanction mass civil disobedience as a part of non-cooperation movement, where the people were ready to plunge it. Thousands of peasants in Uttar Pradesh and Bengal had responded to the call. In many parts of Uttar Pradesh, the tenants refused to pay illegal dues to the Jamindars also. In Punjab, Sikhs were leading a non-violent movement known as Akali movement. In Assam, tea plant laborers were also joined in the non-cooperation movement and they went on a continuous strike. The peasants of Midnapur refused to pay union board taxes. The provincial congresses of several regions passed a resolution to authorize the commencement of civil disobedience movement in the name of non-payment of taxes. A powerful agitation in this regard found at Andhra Pradesh in the name of Chirala Perala, led by Duggirala Gopala Krishnaya. The whole population of Chirala town refused to pay municipal taxes and moved out of the town by leaving their houses. All the village officers also resigned in Pedanandipadu of Guntur district in protest of their own problems. The no tax campaign of the village officers attracted the peasantry, particularly of the Pedanandipadu. They even refused to pay the taxes and joined with the village officers. Press also gave a lot of publicity and contributed for the growth of political consciousness among the people in various parts of the provinces held by the British government. Up to this point, we have discussed the national movement from the suspension of the Home Rule movement in the year 1917, and it continued. The what factors contributed to the emergence of Gandhi as a leader of the national movement, the factors contributed for the starting of the non-cooperation movement, and also various programs of the non-cooperation movement propagated by Mahatma Gandhi, and the support of Congress in the progress of this movement as a mass struggle, and various incidences and also events of that matter. Now, we may shift our discussion why and how the non-cooperation movement was suspended, under which circumstances this non-cooperation movement came to an end. As the non-cooperation movement was making steady progress, the government increased repressive measures and tried to curtail the activities of the non-cooperators through various methods. The people were lathi charged, beaten in public places, fired upon and sent to the jails. As a result, there was widespread protest against the government measures against the non-cooperators and the press. Particularly on 1st February 1922, Gandhi announced that he would start the civil disobedience movement from Bardoli unless the political prisoners who were arrested in the movement were released and press freed from the government control within 7 days. With this announcement of Gandhi, the mood of struggle was soon transformed into retreat. At the same time, there occurred a violent incident in Chauri Chaura, a village in Gorakhpur district of Uttar Pradesh. On 5th February, a large portion of 30,000 peasants were fired upon the police. Infuriated crowd, they also attacked and burnt police station and causing the death of 22 policemen in that clash. After that, Gandhi felt sorry for the violent incident, and also it convinced him that the nationalist workers had not yet properly understood the practice of non-violence, because the non-violence now turned as a violence because of the Chauri Chaura incidents. Later, he believed that the British would be able to crush easily the violent movements. Therefore, Gandhi decided to call off the non-cooperation movement. Accordingly, the Congress Working Committee, with the initiation of Gandhi, met at Bardoli on 11th and 12th February 1922 and passed a resolution to abandon the civil disobedience movement program of the non-cooperation movement and opt for a constructive program. The Bardoli resolution stunned the nation. It had a mixed reception among the various nationalists, particularly Subhash Chandra Bose called it as a national calamity. M.N. Rai, another leader, saw in it weakening of leadership. Some nationalists considered it as curbing of mass initiative. Later on, Gandhi was arrested on 10th March 1922 on charge of sedition and sentenced to a 6-year imprisonment. Of course, he was released after 2 years because of his illness. Thus, the glorious chapter in the freedom struggle came to an end abruptly in 1922. With this, now we may shift to discuss our observation on what was the results of the non-cooperation movement as a summary. It is said to be that the non-cooperation movement failed to achieve success. However, it succeeded in making the Congress movement a grand success. It commanded the support and sympathy of various sections of the Indian society. As a result, the anti-colonial ideology also penetrated even into the grassroots, that is the villages. This non-cooperation movement particularly brought unity and solidarity among the Hindu-Muslim communities. Besides, it had given impetus to socio-economic reforms such as eradication of untouchability, prohibition of liquor, revival of home and village industries, defeating of forest regulations, etc., which was a new type of programs included in the national movement. It also brought tremendous political awakening among the masses and various classes of the society. Particularly, one important event is the women who so far not involved in any programs of the national movement, now women had drawn into the program. The ordinary people no longer feared the British in the way they did in the past. Faith in the justice and free fair of British government was shattered and a blow was struck at its prestige. The people got ready for any amount of suffering and sacrifice to win Swaraj. That is the results of the non-cooperation movement. This was expressed by even Gandhi when he declared that the fight that was commenced in 1920 is a fight to finish, whether it lasts 1 month or 1 year or many months or many years. Thus, the non-cooperation movement set a stage for the future strategy of national movement. With this discussion, though it is not in elaborate but in comprehensive and concise, I hope you may understood what is the non-cooperation movement, why it considered as a new phase in the history of freedom movement, and the role of Gandhi and various programs that carried during the non-cooperation movement to reach that movement up to the grassroots level. For many details, please go to the e-text and other component parts. Thank you.